Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next session looking at the rise of Recommerce and the circular economy. So Recommerce is not entirely a new concept. People have been buying and reselling goods for many years, from donating items to charity shops to selling on eBay. But what is noticeably different is that consumers are now increasingly keen to reduce their own consumption and to help combat the negative impact on their environment. So this session is going to be split into two parts. For the first session, I'm going to be speaking to Steve Oliver, the co-founder and chief exec of musicMagpie. From selling DVDs and books to iPhones and iPads, this northern tech business has been at the forefront of the global Recommerce market for more than a decade. And its green agenda recently won plenty of investors over when the company IPO'd last month. Steve, great to have you with us today.
Hello, Shelina. How are you?
Good. Right, Steve. So, circular economy, the Recommerce economy, you've been doing it for more than a decade now.
Yeah, some lead, others follow in life, Shelina. It's fascinating, isn't it? When we first started doing this and started talking about Recommerce, people looked at us and said, what's Recommerce? And I had to literally start from scratch in terms of, short for reverse commerce, and it's the process of making it as easy to sell to a website as it should be to buy from a website. And that's indeed what we try and do, make it as smart and sustainable and trusted as possible to sell to us. But I think, now people are much more aware of what Recommerce is, what it stands for, and it's much more of a mainstream concept in life. And, as you say, it's growing in market value massively, almost exponentially every year now. So, it's really become a mainstream activity from something that was quite niche-y a few years ago.
Yeah, people have really bought into it. I mean, we had this chat a while ago about, the whole idea of second-hand concept. People weren't too keen on that, but that mentality around it and the awareness around it is completely changed. And obviously it's been good for you and good for business.
It absolutely, yeah. I mean, the phrase itself, second hand, was something that we never liked using terribly much in the business, because it was like, oh, well, when we're reselling the item, we've thoroughly refurbished it and we've put a warranty on our consumer technology for 12 months, the same warranty they get with new, but let's not call it second hand. Let's call it, in the case of physical media, replay or refurbished in consumer tech, because they're more acceptable words. Because there was almost, second hand was a bit niche-y, and people thought, oh, Oxfam shop, and it was all a bit, is it clean and all that kind of thing. And I think, again, now it's very much this mainstream activity where now second hand, we're much more overt with the phrase even, because it's now become associated with becoming smart and savvy and doing something that's not just good for you and saving money and being savvy, and you'll tell your pals about it on social media, because you're proud of it, because you've been that savvy person that's made a decision that was smart for you and smart for the planet. And I think, that's the massive awareness that's grown in the last few years.
Yeah, definitely. And, you've had a busy couple of months, Steve, haven't you? So last month, as I said, musicMagpie, you listed on the London Stock Exchange, and you achieved the green economy mark by doing so. Tell us more about what that has meant and what that meant for shareholders buying into your sort of business model.
Yeah, it was something that the LSE told us about at a fairly early stage. Obviously, a lot of investors have really woken up to ESG qualities in businesses, and indeed there's many funds out there now that are ESG specialist funds, and indeed you need to have a ESG, so environmental social governance qualities, for them to invest in you. So LSE, I think they originated it a couple of years ago, and basically it's a mark that they give to listed businesses where more than 50% of their turnover is derived from sustainable activities. So obviously, being the UK's biggest mobile phone recycler, and nearly 100% of our turnover is 98-ish% actually, we do a little bit of new, is from recycling activity. So they told us, yeah, you will pre-qualify for the green economy mark. Businesses generally are looked on favourably by investors for that, because it's something that's industry accredited in the investor community. So, I think it made the story. We did feel that, the world has come to us a little bit, including the investor community, but where we recognised that 4 or 5 years ago, we barely mentioned recycling in our investor deck. You know, it didn't really resonate in the same way possibly it didn't with consumers. And then about 4 years ago, we brought the recycling symbol into page 11, just to remind us to mention it in passing. Well, now in the 2, 3, 4 months I've just done and presenting the business, sustainability was slide 1. After the overview, it was sustainability is at the heart of everything that we're doing. We've rebranded the business. We brought green into the logo. We've got our Smart for You, Smart for the Planet trademark strapline. So again, you know, it's just at the heart of what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a Yorkshire event, and you're actually doing quite a lot of work with quite a massive Yorkshire retailer. Can you tell us a bit more about that, who that retailer is and what it is that you're doing?
I was going to say you gave a good clue away there. So I think I'm right in saying they're the second biggest retailer in the country in Asda, obviously based in Leeds. So I've spent some time over in Leeds and working with Asda. So we're launching we're well through this process, a kind of a holistic sustainability partnership with Asda and across as their estate. So anybody who knows Asda has been in one. Sustainability has been top of their agenda for some time now. They opened a store in Middleton, I think it was, that was just all about sustainable product. And where we're coming in is we're going to work with them in promoting our trade-in services to make it easy for people to sell their old stuff. So whether it is physical media, our legacy product, or the new consumer tech. But what we wanted to do is make it even easier, even smarter, even more trusted for people to sell to us. Our biggest competitor when we're buying product or a consumer is selling product is their apathy and leaving it in a drawer. So what we've launched is 10 smart drop kiosks across their estate around Christmas time, where people could get cash for their old mobile phone in as little as 4 minutes. And the consumer reaction has been amazing to them. And what's fascinating is 50% of people who've sold to us have said they wouldn't have sold the mobile phone if we didn't make it so easy. So they've walked past it in the foyer of a supermarket, they've caught their eye, they've seen it, and they've thought, that looks interesting, and I can pay for my shopping next week if I bring my old phone in. So they're doing that. So a great partner to work with. As I say, there's different aspects of the relationship with them. We're using their Asda to You logistics service, and even 200 of their stores have launched selling our CDs and DVDs. So yeah, a great partner to be working with, and good Lancastrian Yorkshire relationship building.
Des, you've got an old phone lying in your drawer, take it to Asda, and it comes straight onto your... Yeah, you get credit straight away, don't you? And it's not just that, you've also, I noticed on your website, the RentAphone scheme, that's pretty new as well. And that's again, you know, playing part of that Recommerce economy. Absolutely.
So if that was the disruptive new way of us buying people's phones, well, what a great way for somebody to operate their mobile phone now. So historically, most people just paid one of the networks 40, 50, 60 pounds a month to get a phone and a tariff. And there'll be a lot of people going, yes, that's what I still do, because about half the people in the UK are still doing that. Well, what we're doing is allowing you to split that. They call it cracking the code, where you can do a handset separately, acquire a refurbished high quality handset, anything from an iPhone 6 up to the iPhone 12, the last release of it. We're doing it starting at £6.99 for a monthly subscription. It makes it much more accessible, much more flexible. It was my niece actually who said to me about 12 months ago, 15 months ago, at the start of the pandemic, said, I want to do it, but actually they're sort of, the one I want's £300, £350. And I said, well, I'll do you a bit of family discount, love. And we do Klarna, etc. But actually said, don't you do anything monthly? Because of course, young people in particular are really into that kind of monthly subscription. But this really plays to the circular economy. You know, we're giving nearly 500,000 devices a second life every year now. And if we can keep those latest iPhones, as I say, anything back to a 6, right up to the 12. But at the end of every year, unlike every other subscription in life that's going up, we'll write to the consumer and say, you can keep the one you're on and we'll offer you a discount for the next year to re-sign, or for the same price, we'll trade you up into the next phone and give them that flexibility. But it's really playing to the circular economy of keeping that phone, giving it a second life, a third life, a fourth life, etc. So again, the consumer reaction to it has been sensational to it.
Yeah, and talk about giving it a second life and third life, etc. How much tech do you guys recycle or resell in a year?
Well, there's about, I'll answer that slightly differently. There's a £16 billion worth of unused tech in British households right now that we're trying to get access to and help out. 50 million tons of global e-waste every year and growing. And 70% of the toxicity of landfill waste comes from electronics. So if we can start to really, provide that smart, sustainable, trusted way for people to sell it and buy it and reuse it. As I mentioned, we're at about 500,000 devices at the moment that we're giving that second life to across our UK and our US business. We've got the same business model out in Atlanta, Georgia. So we've got a huge market, a growing market. Ethical shopping and Recommerce generally, as we've talked about, is growing massively. There's a massive acceptance of this area now. So lots of scope to go at, really exciting future for us.
Definitely. And it's not just tech, is it? You're still taking DVDs and books. That's still not gone out of fashion yet, has it, Steve?
musicMagpie will never change. It will. I've worked with CD and DVD product for 20 years, and people have said, "Aren't they going to die next year?" Every year for 20 years, and they haven't yet. And there's great life in them yet. As I mentioned, Asda have launched a trial they did a trial in 40 stores. It was so successful, they went to 200 stores. It's CDs and DVDs for £1 or £2. We're providing that sort of aggregated, trade-in service. One box, throw them all in. We'll come and collect them from you, and then you get cash when they arrive in our warehouse. So yeah, it's a third of the business, about 35% of the business still, but a really important category. And yeah, it'll be around for a long time yet, I'm sure.
There you go. So don't chuck your DVDs and your books away. Right. Thanks, Steve. Now I'm going to bring another two guest speakers to explore the Recommerce market further. Can I bring on Simon Payne, who's co-founder of SoleResponsibility, and Katie Thomas, who's Senior Strategy Manager at Low Carbon and Environment for York and North Yorkshire LEP.
Hi, Shelina.
Hi, guys. Welcome. Can you guys just tell our audience just a bit more about yourselves? And Simon, do you want to start?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a sustainable partner with JD Sports. So we buy their kind of seconds, returns, footwear and clothing. So we've been working with them for around about 6 years now. And then we've had the announcement recently that obviously we're doing a bit more. So that's the majority of what we do. We also work with other brands as well. And from a sustainability and Recommerce perspective, we're giving that product another life. We sort of mainly work with eBay and sell these products through eBay.
Thanks, Simon. And Katie?
Yeah, so I work for York and North Yorkshire Local Enterprise Partnership. So there are about 30 LEPs across England, and our role is really around economic development. So we sit kind of in between local government and national government and try and play that bridge between the two. And my role is very much focused on sustainability. So that covers decarbonising our energy system, the circular economy, and also how we enhance our natural capital. So our organisation's very much not just thinking about economic growth, but trying to think about good growth that's good for people and the planet as well.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys. This is a question for all of you guys. How would you say consumer attitude has changed when it comes to buying refurbished goods? And do you think that's accelerating this particular sector? So, I don't know, Steve, do you want to pick that up and then we'll go around?
Yeah, I mean, perhaps we hinted at it already, Shelina, but I think it has just become, especially with the younger shopper, the millennial Gen Z shopper, has really accepted this. They care. They've woken us, well, I'll refer to myself, not you, Shelina, but us old folk up to the importance of saving the planet and making ethical decisions that are right and smart for the planet. And they've seen the damage that we're doing. So I think we've seen lots of brands, lots of product sectors. You know, H&M have launched a scheme. IKEA have launched a scheme with furniture. Levi's are launching something with with jeans. I think it was Nike, Simon, in the States that are launching something directly with, trading in your old sneakers, as they call them in over there. When you buy your new ones, and that's something Magpie wants to do in the future, service and work with a Magpie circular technology to allow a brand to buy back the old one, whatever it is, when that brand or retailer is selling a new one. But I think, the consumer has just now woken up to this as a mainstream practice. It's not niche, it's not studenty, it's not charity shop. This is mainstream, high street, online activity now.
Yeah, and Simon, it's the same for you as well, isn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the consumer is going on a journey now, and I think they're starting to pick up on, is that there isn't a stigma behind it anymore. I referred to some products recently as first hand, which I think is quite a change in mindset especially for a different generation, that the expectation is then that you are going to see different it's going to be passed on. You could have it for a period of time, keep it in good condition, and then pass it on to the next person. So I think that kind of thing is really, really good, and it's going away from the linear perspective of just using it, and it's going straight into landfill. So the mindset for me is changing quite considerably.
Yeah, and Kate, are you seeing this sort of in the Yorkshire region and the companies?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're seeing it most through how we engage with businesses. So about 5 years ago, when we talked to businesses about the circular economy, a lot of them thought it was a brilliant idea and could even see the economic benefits. But a lot of them would say to us, well, our consumers don't really want us to change our business model or what we're doing. And that was a key sticking point for businesses. But now we're seeing so many businesses come and talk to us because their consumers want to know what they're doing about sustainability. And obviously the circular economy is a key opportunity for a lot of businesses, and particularly among the communities that we work with as well. We're seeing lots of residents, they really want to make a difference and they want to reduce carbon emissions in their area. And we're doing lots of what we call our circular town and community initiatives, where we're really trying to enable communities to come together with their businesses and actually develop their own circular economy initiatives and really make a difference.
So, I'm just going to come to you, Simon. I read a stat, and correct me if I'm wrong. You've saved more than 60,000 pairs of branded trainers from landfill.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. It's quite a lot. We do get quite a bit of. I think for us, it's offering a solution that didn't always exist before. So when retailers are coming to the point on the life cycle of the product, or they're looking at that point and they're thinking, right, what are we going to do when you get to the end? What is the option? And that's from a retailer or brand perspective. Which direction is it going to go? So that's when we've been offering the service per se of saying, look, we can work with you, and we're very transparent, and we're saying this is what we do with the products. So we might potentially refurbish it. There's a lot of people now who are starting to do self-designs and footwear, a lot of customization, and some of it is absolutely incredible. We to it, where we're just trying to divert it away and doing good things with it, and trying to change people's opinion as well.
Yeah, I mean, Steve knows personally what it's like to buy from you guys, because you've sorted him out with a jacket.
I'm a customer.
He is a customer.
Yeah, and I mean, Shelina, I think Simon has also, he's been a bit bashful. He's missed out an important part of it, actually. So there's a commercial reason behind we're all here in business, right? But at the end of this, there's a CSR responsibility and a responsibility we all have to our communities and the greater good and the planet, etc. What Simon's doing with anything that's left at the end of, trying to make that commercial return to be able to grow the business and employ people, etc., is he donates it. And we've done plenty of that as well, especially over last year with the technology. People were looking to work from home more and stay connected, and old people in care homes and hospices who for the first time were going digital and on screens and phones, etc. So like Simon with his, those trainers that, I've seen pictures of him, he's in the papers more than I am these days, actually, donating, and quite rightly so, donating those lots of those trainers, etc., into, poor folk who can't afford, certainly access to those brands, etc., but might be homelessness community. And I think that's the responsibility as well we've all got, to look after our community as well as the planet with this product. We've been thinking long and hard now about, do we actually just buy everything, whether it's got commercial value? If somebody took, I often got asked, what about an old Nokia phone? I've got one of those. Well, we can't do anything with it, but we can make sure we recycle it responsibly, rather than it just stay in the drawer or end up being thrown in the local landfill. So we've all got that responsibility. I think that's what Simon's business is doing really well, and hopefully musicMagpie will continue to do that same thing.
Yeah, I think you both touched on affordability and access, and that's quite an important part of this sustainability agenda. It's about everybody. It's not just a few people who can afford to do that. It's for everybody, isn't it? And I think, Simon, that's touched quite well with you and your business, because you're seeing it is accessible, these expensive trainers, to people it might not have been otherwise. Yeah,
very much. I think there's one thing that you're seeing an aspirational customer leading the main brand at some point, whether it be a branded t-shirt or branded pair of potential. We see people are understanding the re-commerce. Well, they are, £150, but something, a pair of trainers or 9 trainers, and there is a little mark on them, then we'll pay £70 for it. That's absolutely fine, and we're doing everything that we can. We're directing it from going to landfill. We're working with the consumers. So I do think there will be this aspirational consumer who does want this, and they might not be able to potentially afford it, but they also might lead into being a full paying customer at some point in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks, Simon. Katie, can I come to you? You're an expert in the circular economy, and why is this agenda important for Yorkshire businesses, and what steps can they take to adopt these principles and enhance their own efforts?
Yeah, so we obviously think that the circular economy is incredibly important for businesses across Yorkshire. When we were developing our circular economy strategy, we did a lot of work with businesses, local authorities and other organisations to really try and understand what the circular economy could mean in our area. So we identified a number of circular economy opportunities across different sectors, and a lot of these were around items that we were wasting, and things that we just weren't really making use of. So that could be different assets, it could be buildings, meeting room spaces, but critically we see circular economy as really important for businesses, because it can either help them save money or it can offer a new income stream for them. And I think really importantly, through COVID, we've seen businesses that either have fully circular business models or ones that have elements and are slowly becoming more circular. They've adapted so well during the pandemic, and a really good example of that is Cooper King Gin Distillery, who they've tried to make all the elements of their business as circular as possible, through how they source the ingredients for their gin, using products that would otherwise go to waste, through to their actual bottles, and you can take your bottle back and it can be reused. And they found that when COVID hit, a big supplier for them was restaurants and bars. So they obviously had so much product that they didn't know what to do with, but they partnered with a couple of restaurants in Yorkshire to actually offer kind of kits that they could send out to people's homes with food and their gin, and they also started making hand sanitizer, which is obviously a massive demand for that. So I think we've really seen that those businesses that are more circular are more innovative as well. So in York and North Yorkshire and West Yorkshire as well, we do have a business support programme that can help businesses that want to become more resource efficient and circular. So that's consultancy support as well as grants to buy equipment to enable businesses to become more resource efficient. And we do also have a number of guides on our website which can really help businesses that are interested in the circular economy just get started. And these are very much entry level. They're super simple and kind of break down the circular economy into quite tangible bite-sized steps. And we're also in the process of developing a toolkit which will actually allow businesses to identify their own circular economy opportunities and to either pivot their business model or to develop a new area.
Have you seen, I mean, are there any cities in Yorkshire that you're seeing are maybe moving towards becoming a completely circular city?
Yeah, I'd say both York and Leeds are doing some great work. I think what we found is actually that trying to get everyone to work together in a city to become more circular is incredibly challenging. And because obviously Yorkshire, there are parts that are massively rural, we've actually seen more success at trying to do this at a town scale. So we've got a market town in North Yorkshire, Moulton, that's developed its own circular town initiative. So they've got plans for a community anaerobic digester facility to try and power their town through low carbon energy, and they've got lots of other community initiatives which are just quite small individually, but they really add up to try and reduce waste in the town.
Thanks, Katie. Something that Katie pointed out is the pandemic and the impact it's had on businesses. Simon and Steve, I mean, what kind of impact has the pandemic had on your business? I mean, Steve, are you seeing more people decluttering, for example, because they spend that time at home and looking at what they can do and recycle and reuse?
Yes, I mean, a number of different factors, really. I guess the obvious one was that it pushed people, it accelerated that move online, full stop, for everybody. So if you take food out, I believe that online spend went up from mid 30% of overall retail spend to over 50%, and I'm not sure that'll go back. There's some structural permanent changes have gone on here. So I think it's McKinsey who say it takes 2 months to form a new consumer trend. We've now had 15 months in this new world we've been in. So, and I say, you know, and I think in terms of Recommerce, yes, people were at home more. So they were looking to both consume more and bring product in to the home. So it's funny, isn't it? There was a lot of talk about, and I was kind of uncomfortable with this, but COVID winners and COVID losers. I don't like that, because the losers, it suggests, did something wrong, and they very much didn't. They were very often just in the wrong sector. But Recommerce was very much, shall we call it, a beneficiary of the dynamics that the pandemic created, and that was people at home more looking to sell, looking to declutter, perhaps raise some cash in the process, but then to buy those branded products, as we talked about earlier, for a fraction of the price, it is good as new condition, same warranty, and oh, actually, well, that's the smart thing to do. And, you know, actually, it's being kind to the planet and the community, and, you know, we all need to help each other out more. So I think there was, you know, it's been an era-defining event in many ways, and I'm sure something will be, you know, it'll be talked about in history for many, many reasons for many years to come.
And Simon, did you see anything from the pandemic, the boost to business, or?
Yeah, we did. We were fortunate that we did start to see a bit more online. The one thing that we noticed more was that very much a 24-hour-a-day consumer. More and more frequent, you know, late night orders, middle of the night orders, and consumer is going away from the old bricks and mortar of 8 to 6, the opening times, or, you know, you get the extended times. People are just shopping so much more on the phone, and has increased because, you know, the shops were closed. But it just doesn't, the pattern being completely smashed of consumerism, of you know, there's no set time to shop now. Thing that we've massively noticed. Whatever time it may be, we might get a bing on the device at 4 o'clock in the morning, and someone's bought a pair of trainers, and you think that happened before, you know. So yeah, really different.
Yeah, it's a 24/7 consumer. What does that mean for your business in terms of, you know, having your staff and your employees? Are they working longer hours, or have you got more staff?
Quite a few changes are afoot, I think. We're just catching up with it, I think, because there has been have to adapt to what has happened, and you know, we're adapting to different working hours and various things like that. So that's one key thing for us going forward. But it is that you are starting to see a change in the consumerism, but like you say, it is a sort of a change away from bricks and mortar, which potentially might not go back.
Yeah, and just staying with you, Steve. Earlier you mentioned you're a partner, sustainability partner with JD Sports. What does that mean for your business? It's a brand you've been working with for quite a while, and to be recognised as an official sustainability partner, it's a big thing for the business, isn't it?
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I absolutely chuffed to pieces. I mean, the guys at JD are all great guys, really nice, everyone we work with. For us, it's a nice reward for the hard work that we've put in. But yeah, really good. And it shows that JD are doing something as well. And they've got the trust in us as a small and growing business, that we're doing the right thing. As Steve mentioned earlier, you know, we want to change the business model. You know, when we have worked within this product, we then want to be able to donate it back into the community. So we did. So he's going back about Christmas time. We managed to donate 600 jackets in 2 days, and we got a jacket on every homeless person within Manchester in 2 days. And things like that, we want to be able to push and do new initiatives. Before that, donated 1,200 pairs of boots, invited 30 charities down from Yorkshire, got them all to get loads of different boots, all the different sizes, and then made sure all the people who were suffering from homelessness had a pair of dry boots in the winter. There's just things like that are key, and being able to be hands-on and physically stock and then put it to where it is needed. And we started working with people in clothing poverty as well, with certain bits of the stock. So we can do good things with it, and it is the CSR bit that we do enjoy doing.
That's brilliant, Simon. And it's good for the brand as well, isn't it? People recognise the brand for doing these great things.
Yeah, hopefully so. And, you know, we want to work with more people, and we want to be able to offer that opportunity. You know, when people are coming to the end of a supply chain, or they are looking at the products, and like I say, from brands and retailers, what do we do with it? You know, there has to be a responsible decision at some point of where it goes, and we just try to help facilitate it.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Let's talk about that sort of mindset and that sort of brand. Steve, I mean, you've sort of talked about this before, where it fosters a kind of like be kind mindset, just, you know, amongst your consumers, but also amongst your staff as well, doesn't it? It's more than just selling products. It's, you know, it impacts the whole organization.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I talk about it a lot. I grew up in a shop. So my dad was a sub postmaster in Payne, Mersey and Stockport, and we grew up upstairs. And but he was the figurehead of the community, and that was, you know, very important to him. He looked after people, and two of the key values as musicMagpie has grown. You know, my dad actually helped me set Magpie up many years ago, 13 and a half years ago, when we started out the garage and took our first premises. But we've managed to retain that family value in there. And the two key qualities are magpies make a difference and magpies care. And that one, you know, when I was asked to define what a key value in any business should be. It was that word care. You care about each other, your colleagues, your peers, your environment, your customers, the product, your colleagues, etc. So again, as the pandemic hit last year, lots of people are in less fortunate positions than us. And as Simon did some wonderful things, we tried to make our difference. We raised £200,000 for NHS charities together by donating £1 for every item that we bought and another one for every one we resold. It was about just making a difference, being positive, contributing to life, and really trying to keep that family ethos. Our turnover is £150 million as a group this year, including the US. And we've had those cultural challenges of getting that and emanating that over to the US, especially when we didn't call them a business musicMagpie because they didn't know what a magpie was. They thought our magpie was a penguin when I chose them many years ago. So we couldn't even call it musicMagpie. But I go over there a lot. I haven't been over there for a while now, of course, because of restrictions. But we've got that same family value, I hope, across the whole business. And I think that's absolutely key for any business to hold on to as it continues to grow.
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned your US business Declutter. What's the difference between consumers' attitude in the UK compared to those in the US?
I would say, like one or two other aspects, they're slightly behind where we are in terms of just general attitude, perhaps towards Recommerce as a whole. Maybe 4 or 5 years of Trump did a bit of damage in taking it backwards, pulling out of climate, agreements and that kind of thing. But hopefully Biden's now getting things back on track. But I think the consumer behaviour is that they've generally just been that little bit behind. So only 7% of Americans sell their old device to a trade-in site such as our own. So it's even more of a challenge for them to get it out of a drawer. The ones who are selling it, are selling it back to the network generally, which is what we used to do a few years ago. So I think they are catching up. There are many, many, many Americans, a big percentage that do care, want to make that difference to the environment. But I do think it's a bit of a challenge that they are slightly behind. What's fascinating in the US and what we're launching over there, as we have done here, is we try to take our consumer award-winning service to businesses. Now, it's been difficult because we've all been remote, but actually everybody at work has got that old drawer, that old room or a box. It might be the IT manager, the office manager, with loads of these iPhones in there, or tablets or laptops. Now, that really resonates in the States because very often they'll donate that kind of stuff to Goodwill. You get a tax allowance against your tax return on that. So people are ahead of us in doing that in terms of the CRP service, corporate recycling partnerships that we've launched in the UK. That's been a challenge for us in the UK because businesses have been dispersed across virtually as we are now sat in our homes. But in the US, they are ahead of us with that. So that's been an interesting market dynamic.
That's interesting. Yeah, thanks, Steve. Look, the questions here. One of them is, how much are big businesses greenwashing? Do you want to take that, Katie?
Yeah, sure. I think that's quite a challenging question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think from what we see with the larger businesses that operate in Yorkshire is that they're all doing lots of great sustainability things. They've got their sustainability teams. Most have obviously developed their own sustainability strategies that in some areas are quite ambitious, really. And I think large businesses do have a massive potential to have that wider impact through their supply chains. I think, and I'm not going to name drop any businesses, although it is tempting, I think you see that sometimes though with large businesses, their core business model or the product that they're ultimately selling is unsustainable. So I think that's a key problem, which through growing consumer changes and attitudes, we might see them need to shift the type of products that they're selling. But I think a good example of a business that is doing some good things across Yorkshire and the North East is Nestlé, that are now working with all their farmers, providing incentives for them to change their practices to either reduce carbon emissions or greenhouse gas emissions, particularly from dairy, livestock, and also around changing the farming practices so that they can really improve soil health and quality, which has the potential to have a massive impact in our area, where we have a lot of areas that are quite at risk of flooding. So if we can change how we farm the land, that can improve the flood resilience of our area. So I think there's lots more work for businesses to do, but I do think we should kind of celebrate the steps that large businesses are making, but recognise that obviously most large businesses can do a lot more.
Yeah, sure can. This one's for both Steve and Simon. Will musicMagpie and SoleResponsibility ever adopt the clicks and mortar model to help revive the high street?
Simon, I don't know whether you want. I mean, I'll talk about that just for a moment. As I mentioned before, I grew up in a shop, and I'm a retailer is in my blood, physical retail. It was a very sad day. musicMagpie used to have shops on the high street, including many in Yorkshire, and unfortunately, the high street just became so challenging to make work. I'm not saying anything too controversial or new with that, you know, with establishment costs and labour costs, etc., and just the changing consumer pattern. But I do think it's got a place, and I will come back to the relationship with Asda, who are doing some really smart things with retail partnerships. And, you know, the one thing that a lot of people still want to do is go to a supermarket to shop for their weekly grocery and choose their bananas and not have somebody else choose their bananas. That's my wife's thing, because I'm very particular about my bananas. So if you can still use that traffic that's going to the high street and partner up with businesses such as ours, as Simon's partnered up with JD, and work with those retailers that are left, that sounds terrible, but the big names, the big box retailers who are out there. But also, I do believe at the other end, there is a definite place for those niche independent retailers offering a destination service or product. So whether that's fashion, and that might be Recommerce fashion, or something different. And I think it's the generalists in the middle who nobody was really sure. They were a jack of all trade, master of none, who struggled. I think the supermarkets are in a really strong position still and can do these partnerships, and the real big successful retailers, and then that niche at the bottom for the independent ones. That's my reading of it.
What yourself, Simon?
Yeah, no, completely agree. I think the partnerships with supermarkets is a fantastic idea. You know, you can only go back to pulling Argos's into Sainsbury's many years ago. That was just sort of a really nice partnership, and from a Recommerce perspective, you will get footfall than you would. So you're kind of hijacking the footfall of Asda or other big sort of retailers and taking off a section of it, which I think is brilliant. From a perspective, really tough decisions. I did have conversations with Steve recently. I mean, we were looking at a shop, and it was a really tricky decision what to do. Do we look at the bricks and mortar, or do we just think, actually, no, we might have to invest more online? Because, again, you have got a changing consumer. You've got people who go more and more time poor. They're not going to have the time to be able to go to a shop. You've got issues with probably working patterns as well. I think on the back of COVID, working patterns will change quite considerably. So for them to be able to shop and get what they want, and also you've got next day delivery, which is so key to people. Although that doesn't massively help the CO2 emissions, you know, you've just got everybody wanting everything next day. It just means that the consumer is changing. I think to a certain degree, they have made their mind up of where they're going to go. So I think it's always tough to go into that space more than anything, unless you probably are very niche and quite specialist.
Right, thanks, Simon. Well, we've actually come to the end of our session, and some great insights from our speakers, Steve, Simon, Katie. Thank you so much for your time. Recommerce is only growing, and if you've got a phone in your drawer, take it out, take it to Asda and get your shopping done. Thanks, guys. Please stay on for the rest of our session, and thank you to musicMagpie for sponsoring this particular one. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelina.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Shelina. Thank you.
Bye. Bye, Katie. Bye, Simon.
Bye, Katie. See you later.